What's up, YouTube? It's your boy Wacc Duce, man. I'm tapping in. You know what I mean? It's been a minute since I done tapped in and made a video, so I'm gonna go ahead and do it, man. Ain't no better time than now. So, anyways, you know, everybody knows my backstory. You know what I'm saying? I went to the pen being a white boy. There was a Crip, you know what I'm saying? Sold up with blacks on the main line. Never PC'd up, never tucked my tail, never tapped in or tapped out. You know what I mean? And you know, it was a struggle. You know what I'm saying? I'll be the first one to admit that it's a blessing that I even made it up out of there, because as we all know, because of the way, even if you've never been to prison, the way that the social media and all that is. You know, everybody can get a glimpse on what goes on inside them prisons, behind them walls, right? So, you know, now in CDC with all the changes going on, the 50-50 yards, the S&Ys being intermingled with the GPs and vice versa, and program yards versus non-program yards, and the so-called big homies from the back that are now on the main line. All that wasn't going on when I was in the pen. The last time my parole was in 2006. So we're talking 17 years ago was the last time. 16 years ago was the last time that I was incarcerated in CDC. But anyways. I don't really like doing it. I really don't like, and people know this. They've asked me all the time, like, man, you know, we want to hear your war stories. We know you got a lot of war stories. Yeah, which is true. You know what I'm saying? I have my fair share. You know what I mean? I went through probably a lot more than the average white dude would have went through, or the average Southsider or Northerner or black, you know what I'm saying, for that matter, just because of the choices I made, right? You know what I'm saying? And I wasn't the only one that did it. You know what I'm saying? There's a handful of, you know what I'm saying, white Crips that did it before me or did it while I was doing it. And we all kind of like know who each other are. We, you know what I'm saying, kind of like, you know, you hear, you know, through the prison grapevine. This was before cell phones and all that. But you know, you would hear through the prison grapevine about one, and then, you know, eventually you'd probably run into each other or hit the same pen as each other or whatever. So word always goes around, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can't, you know, like they say, you know, you really can't hide out in prison, you know what I'm saying? Because word will eventually catch up to you wherever you are. You know what I'm saying? What's in the dark must come to light. But the white Crips I'm talking about, you know what I'm saying? I've mentioned their names before. And now somebody is, there's a video on YouTube. It's got probably over like 500,000 views now, featuring some of the white Crips that have been to prison. You know what I'm saying? I'm in there. The big homie Snow Rock from Dago's in there. The homie Die Hard from Pomona. The homie Goldie from Park Village in Compton. He's on death row. The homie Old Man from Fort Trey. The homie Rob Dog, aka Super Cuz, from East Coast Stockton. Solid homie right there, through and through. You know what I'm saying? And the homie Twilight from East Coast. The homie Wildflower from Hoover. The homie B Down from Two P's and a B. So there was a handful of us. You know what I'm saying? And we all went through it. You know what I'm saying? I told my story on Mitch's channel, Hard Intentions. Shout out to Mitch. That's big bro. You know what I mean? Go check him out. He's got, you know, 38 years in prison, mainline. Never tucked his tail. Did his shit, stood up like a man and did his time. You know what I mean? Didn't tap out. And now bought a house out in Arizona. Him and his beautiful wife, Adrian. Shout out to them. Yeah, so, and Mitch was actually on the yard with Snow Rock. You know what I mean? And Snow Rock's story is well documented. You know, Snow Rock's my big homie. I came up after him. And if it wasn't for him, you know what I'm saying, there wouldn't be me. You know, growing up, I'd always hear stories about Snow Rock, how he did it, how he was on the yard, open cell policy. Anybody had a problem with him, his door was always open. Like, you know what I mean? You got a problem, let's go, you know what I mean? Let's not crash these cars. You know what I mean? Since you got a problem with it, since you speaking on it, let's go handle it up in the cell, mano y mano, right? And so he did that, you know what I mean? And he established a reputation that was upstanding, you know what I mean? And was doing and did what he was supposed to do. You know what I mean? If you ask him, any of us really, if you like, it wasn't spectacular what we did. You know what I mean? Like, I talked to my homeboy, man, one of my homeboys, the homie Lance, and he be like, you know, I'm like, I don't understand how people are fascinated with the story, because I didn't do anything, to me, extraordinary. I just stayed true to who I was as an individual, rather than being forced into being something that I wasn't. You know, you get a lot of like, oh, you think you're black, you know what I mean, you're a wigger or whatever, you know what I'm saying? All that shit, you know what I'm saying? But that couldn't be the farthest from the truth. I don't try to be black. I'm not black. I don't have black in me. You know what I'm saying? I just love where I come from. And I am what I am. I'm a product of my environment. But that doesn't take away that I know who I am as a man, as an individual, as a human being. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't take away from that. You know, and so when I dealt with the Woods in prison, I never took it personal. I knew it was always business, right? Back then, on them level 4 yards, there was a policy, the big homies in the back, and I'll just say their name because it's already been put out there. You know what I mean? The brand and the NLRs, through the NLRs, made it a policy that any white crib hits the yard, they gotta go. Whether they raise their hand and leave the yard on their own accord, or we remove them from the yard. And if that takes a riot to ensue to get that dude off the yard, then so be it, right? Because they looked at it like it was a black eye on them. Because I'm a race trader, quote unquote, right? I'm trying to be black. I'm smoking after blacks. I'm drinking after blacks. I'm eating after blacks. I'm selling up with blacks, right? So they took it as a black eye to their organization, to their push, to their rhetoric, right? To their indoctrination, right? Which couldn't be farther from the truth, because you know what? We're all fucking human beings in the first place. Second of all, them dudes, I didn't grow up around them dudes, so I didn't have nothing in common with them other than being human and being in jail, right? I don't, you know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't grow up around a bunch of white people doing quote unquote white things, right? I don't listen to, and I'm not trying to galvanize the white race. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've never, you can go through every video that I've been on, every video that I've made, I've never disrespected anybody. The white boys, the Southerners, anybody. You know what I'm saying? Even though I went to war with both groups, I've never, you know what I'm saying? Like, I just don't do that. You know what I mean? First of all, I'm 43 years old. I got better things to do than to sit up here and disrespect somebody on YouTube. You know what I mean? But I'm not trying to galvanize the white race and say they all listen to heavy metal. But I didn't grow up listening to heavy metal. You know, I didn't skateboard. I didn't surf. I didn't, you know, a lot of the stuff that goes on in the, I didn't ride motorcycles. I didn't, you know what I mean? Like, so, I grew up in the ghetto. And so naturally, my neighbors, because of where I grew up, were colored people. Mexican, Asian, Samoan, Black, Filipino, right? And so, growing up in that environment, it became natural to me to be a part of that, right? It's in our nature to want to be around people that we grew up with, that we're accustomed to. And so that's just what it was, right? But in the elementary way of thinking of the penitentiary, right? This prehistoric tribalism that goes on, right? They don't understand that. That wasn't taken into consideration. If you're white, you run with the whites. If you're Mexican from LA, you run with the Southsiders. And so on and so forth. Right? So when cats like me come and we buck the system, there's consequences behind that. And it sends waves through wherever we're at. And we're the most hated person on that fucking yard, on that facility, point blank period. You got the police that don't like you. You got the white boys that definitely don't like you. The Southsiders ain't too, you know, I mean, they really don't have a horse in the race, but they kind of like don't, you know, they still, you know, they over there calling the motherfucker Mayateron and all that, right? And then the homies, some of the Crip homies, they don't, you know what I'm saying? Some of the blacks are like, man, he ain't from my hood. Or he ain't, you know what I mean? That ain't my homeboy, right? So not only do we have to deal with the issue with the race, but then we got to deal with our own too, right? So everywhere you go, you have to reestablish yourself. And so anyways, to fast forward on this, to get to the story now, I had gotten into it with the ride about, at this point I had probably got into it with the ride about 6 different times. Most of the time, it was just isolated incidences, and they could never get me the way they wanted me, right? They could never, their goal was never met, you know what I'm saying? And each time their little torpedoes would go crawling back, the more they felt disrespected, right? And so after a while, it becomes kind of like this trophy game where you become like a trophy because you've embarrassed them, you know what I'm saying? And so I was in a cell with the homie Psycho, And I had already gotten into it with a dude from the ride that, matter of fact, he's been on another channel on here, and he, you know, he's got, I guess, his war stories or whatever. I mean, he was part of the ride, you know what I mean? I'll give him that, you know what I mean? But anyways, him and his boy, him and one of his homies, they tried to rush me in Tehachapi, and he ended up pretty much going to sleep right there in the day room under the stairs. So, anyways, they didn't like that too much. So, we go on lockdown, whatever. And that's when the administration was trying to establish a new 270 yard. And so everything was new. Everybody was new on that yard. Shit needed to be established. And which is really the worst time to be on a yard is when you open up a yard because of that. Everything still needs to be established. Whose tables is whose. What basketball court, what handball court, all of that shit, right? So, you know what I mean? And then people are cleaning up their backyard, you know. You're getting an influx of people daily. People are going, people are coming, you know what I'm saying? So motherfuckers are cleaning up their backyard and all that. So it was kind of, crazy, right? And then they ended up rushing me. I told this story. They ended up rushing me when I was in the shower, and the Samoan crib homie helped me out. But I knew then, right? I knew. I said, okay, this is where the shit gonna get serious, because they're sending hitters at me and they're not getting the job done. Like, you're getting a group of dudes that get sent to go do a job, and they end up coming back bumbling and stumbling, and they look like they were the ones that got jumped on, right? And it's not, you know what I mean? Like, that's not good for business, right? That's not good for reputation. And so I already knew, like, you know what? It's going to come a time where when they come, they're not going to come playing. You know what I mean? Like, it's not going to be like, we're going to beat this dude up. We might poke him or slice him or whatever. Nah, I knew that, like, you know what I mean? One of these times they're going to come, and they're going to come to, you know what I'm saying, bring my head back on a platter, right? And so I was in the cell with the homie Psycho, and I kind of knew, like, I just seen the different dudes hit the yard, right? And when I say that, like, when I first got there, it was like woods, right? You had your regular woods, right? And then you had a couple like skinheads mixed in, right? And then that group came and they tried to rush me. And then whatever, went to the hole, got out, and it was like, you get back to the yard, right? And it's like you can see the difference in the woods, right? Whereas you went from a few of these dudes, right? And a whole bunch of regular woods, right? To now it's flipped to where it's a lot of them versus a few regular woods, right? So now I know, okay, that's what time it is, right? Okay, cool. And but I'm waiting on the bus though, right? I'm waiting on the bus to go to Lancaster. And I'm like, all right, you know what I mean? I just like, you know what I mean? I'm about to get up out of here, you know. I'm gonna stay on point, you know what I mean? Like I always do. And like one day I just felt like their eyes were on me, right? Like super on me. And I remember telling the homie Psycho, I was like, man, I said, damn, cuz. Hey, when we went to Chow earlier, did you feel like when we came through the Chow Hall line, the white boys were staring, huh? And he was like, man, he was like, they was on you. And then I bullshit you not, like 5 minutes later, his homeboy came to the cell. And he was like, hey, he said, man, hey, you seen the woods? The woods was hella, like they were looking at y'all. And I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, I said, yeah, we were just talking about that. And so I was like, oh, okay, well then they, you know what I mean? Like they might, but it wasn't like they were looking, like, cause I look, you know, I always, when I walk into the Chow Hall, I always used to like check my surroundings. Like I would always want to know like, okay, where they at? You know what I'm saying? Like, where's the group of them at? You know what I mean? So I know like, okay, you know what I mean? Just being, you know, just being on point. And, it wasn't like they were like staring at me like mad dogging me or nothing like that, but they were, I guess they were like, you know, they just let their let their look linger a little bit too long, right? It's kind of like when you know you're talking about somebody, it's like you're talking about somebody and you see that person walk by, and so kind of like everybody kind of like looks, right? That's more or less what that was, right? So okay, bam. All right, I already know what's cracking. You know what I mean? I've been expecting them to come back. Because they done tried to get at me twice already in the span of like 3 months. You know what I mean? The first time, their homeboy got knocked out. The second dude, he ended up running because he got sprayed by the police. So, they were 0 for 1 on that one. The second time, you know what I'm saying? Me and the Samoan homie, you know what I mean? We dealt with the shit, right? And so they were 0 for 2, right? And I kind of expected them to come on with it, you know what I mean? And I'm going to keep it real with you, right? Like, in them moments, you're not scared, right? You're more aware of it. And then it gets to the point where it wears on you mentally so much that you just want it to be over with. You know what I'm saying? Like, if y'all gonna jump, let's fucking do this shit, homie. You know what I mean? And I remember I got at the homie Monk on the yard one day. A Monk, an older homie, right, from Dago. And I said, look, cuz, check this out, bro. I'm not with the bullshit, homie. I'm not with the waiting, homie, to wait. You know what I mean? Hurry up and wait. You know what I'm saying? Like, nah, I'm not, you know what I mean? But he used to be like, cuz, don't never run to your death, homie. And, right? Which makes sense. You know what I'm saying? Don't ever run to your death, right? But the waiting was killing me. The anticipation. The fear. Because there is fear there. It's just how you channel that fear. How you use that fear. How you manage that fear, right? I wanted the shit to be over with and done with, right? So I could get the fuck out of there, get on the bus to Lancaster and do the shit all over again, right? And so, a couple days, weeks went by, nothing. But I noticed the thing that gave it away, there was 2 things that gave it away, that really gave it away, right? Was the woods that would sometimes speak to me wouldn't even look at me, right? Number 2 was the Southsiders as well were kind of like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, I wouldn't say keeping their distance because there always is distance, but it's like, you know what I mean? It's kind of like, if you know what I mean? Like, you know something, right? So you kind of like, you know what I mean? Right? But anyways, so bam, I'll never forget it. Tuesday night, I'm like, damn, my name still hadn't come up, you know what I mean? Like, I still hadn't been told to transpack, right? And I'm like, fuck, man, you know what I mean? I'm ready to get up out of here, man. I need, you know what I mean? And above us, right? We were in cell 137, I want to say. 136. Yeah, 137. Above us was skinheads. To the left of us was skinheads. To the right of us was Southsiders. And I remember chopping it up. Me and the homie Psycho that night, we had made some coffee. What we used to do is we'd get Maxwell House coffee, and we'd make some legitimate motor oil, mud, straight mud, right? And we'd get twacked out on that fucking coffee, and we'd be up half the night just fucking bullshitting, you know what I mean? Shooting the shit, telling war stories, this, that, and the other, right? Clowning, whatever, you know what I mean? And anyways, but all through that night, you could hear scraping, right? And everybody knows in the pen what that is, right? That's a motherfucker sharper than they shit. And so I'm like, okay, cool. Well, you know what I mean? I stay ready, bro. I don't, you know what I mean? Like, I never, I didn't walk around naked, bro. I wasn't, you know what I mean? Like, you're not gonna get this hot, bro. You know what I mean? Like, whatever you give me, homie, I'm finna give back to you, bro. Straight the fuck up. You know what I'm saying? My daddy didn't raise no fucking pussy. You know what I mean? And like, I'm not leaving. If I leave the yard, I'm bringing a couple of you punk motherfuckers with me. Straight the fuck up. You know what I mean? And that's not even on no gangster shit. That's just on some man type shit, right? So, anyways, get up the next morning, whatever. As I'm standing at the door for breakfast, I kind of like, and the skinheads that were next to me, they had left already to chow. And we were waiting on the homies down there, the homies that were down there in like they were in like 149 and 150, so we were waiting on them. And I kind of like peered into the white boys' cells, right? And I noticed that all they shit was like legitimately packed up, right? And not just your regular roll up your mattress and all that, you know what I mean? I mean, that's normal. That's, you know what I'm saying? Everybody does that, right? But they shit was like legitimately packed up and on their bed, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like packed up. I'm like, oh shit. Right? And the homies seen that too. So we walking the child, explaining to the homies this and that, right? And we get into the chow hall, and the homie upstairs, the homie Baby Looney from the 60s, he like, hey Wacc, let me holler at you, cuz. When we come out of here, he was like, slow down when you walking. And I'm like, all right, I got you. So bam, I'm like, all right. So him and the homie Devil from 60s, they catch up to us on the way back. And he like, hey, cuz, he was like, I just want to let you know, homie. He was like, I don't know what's cracking with these Wyopies, but these white boys, he said, but the white boys next to us, he was like, they got their shit all packed up. And they cells. I was like, is that right? I was like, that's crazy, because my neighbors do too. And he was like, yeah. He was like, well, he was like, fuck it, cuz, you know what I mean? Like, he was like, just stay close to the homies, bro. You know what I mean? When we come to yard, I'm like, all right, cuz, I got you. And So whatever, whoop, you know what I'm saying? Go back to the cell and shit, whatever. Then they do unlock for yard, right? So bam. Now listen. This is something, this is another indication that something was gonna go down. All the white boys came to yard. Like all of them, right? They was all on the yard. By this time, the homies kind of knew what was up. So we kind of like grouped up, you know what I mean? Talked about it, had our little, you know what I mean? Made our little, you know what I'm saying? Made our little plans or whatever. Now at this time, I'm not gonna sit up here and say I wasn't, I wasn't scared, but I wasn't scared to the point of like, oh yeah, I'm gonna pee on myself and tuck my tail. I was scared to where my senses were in overdrive. I knew what was up. I knew what was coming. I just, you know what I'm saying? I just wanted it to be over with so I could get past it, whether, and it's crazy for me to even say this right now, but so either I'm gonna die or I'm not. But let's hurry up and get this shit over with, right? And so bam, you know what I'm saying? Like we do what we normally do, and then we start walking laps. The homie like, let's walk laps. Fuck it. You know what I mean? So we start walking laps. Walking laps. I'm telling you, man, you walk past the woods, they putting their head down. They turning their head in the other way. That's how I knew, right? I'm like, okay. So we thinking like they're gonna wait till like inline or something, and then they're gonna try to crack it off, right? All right, whatever, bam. It gets to about, I don't know, like maybe 10:30, 10:45, and all of a sudden they start calling names to go back to the building, to the buildings. So whatever, they start naming names and shit, and then they get to my name, right? And I'm like, the homie's like, what the fuck, cuz? So they were like, hold up, this might be, you know what I mean? Like, this might be, because I done had it to where the police set me up at Donovan. So it's not beyond the police to set some shit up. So the homie's like, nah, fuck that, cuz. Like, nigga, if you go, nigga, if we, you know what I mean? Like, we all going in. But, so we start walking back towards the building and shit. And I got like 3 homies with me. So we get, there was a couple dudes. It was an SA, I think, and it was an SA and an Asian cat. And so we asked they asked the tower officer, like, what's up? Like, they called my name on the loudspeaker, and lady in the tower, she was like, oh, you guys are transpacking. And it's a special bus. You guys are leaving today. And I'm like, I never heard of no shit like that, right? So I'm like, what the fuck? And or you know what? I don't think she mentioned that we were leaving that day, but she was like, you guys are transpacking right now. You guys need to hurry up and get your shit and get to R&R. All right, cool, whatever. So go up in there. You know what I mean? I got Psycho with me, my celly. We go up in there, transpack our shit, whatever. Come back out. And by that time, it was yard recall. And so, as I'm like, you know what? Like, I'm finna stand out here. Like, I'm standing on the tier, homie. Like I'm not finna go, like, lock it up in my cell. Like, I'm not finna give these motherfuckers a chance to, like, feel like, you know what I mean? Like, oh, this motherfucker went and locked it up when he was going to transpack, right? And so motherfuckers came in and shit, and I noticed that they had more police in the buildings getting motherfuckers in their cells quickly, right? Flashing their lights and shit on cell doors, you know what I'm saying, to get the tower to, and then there was like 2 people in the tower opening doors, which normally there's only one, right? You know what I'm saying, unless something happened. Yeah, so, and anyways, so as I'm sitting there, you know what I'm saying, I'm standing on me and Psycho standing out there on the tier, and they're like, everybody lock it up, whatever. So we go in the cell and shit. And then we're in our cell, and I bullshit you not, like 10, 15 minutes later, they, me, the SA, and the Asian, they came to our doors and was like, you got 10 minutes and we're taking you to R&R. And they came and snatched us, right? So bam, I'm like, oh shit. And the homie like, damn, cuz that's crazy. And whatever, boop. So we smash, and they take us to Lancaster, right? Now, what had happened was, I later found out that Lancaster, I guess we were supposed to transpack like a week earlier. But what had happened was they had a riot at Lancaster. So that bus or whatever got put off. And then I guess they got rid of a gang of motherfuckers or whatever. And then so I guess we just got put on that new bus or whatever, right? So anyways, I get to Lancaster, whatever, orientation. You know what I mean? Me and the Asian cat and the SA, and whatever, we doing our thing and shit. And the Asian, me and him went to D-Yard together. And one day he was like, hey, Wacc. He said, man, I've been wanting to holler at you, dog. He was like, but you know how it is. You know, I'm like, yeah, no, what's cracking? And he was like, man, he said, don't, you know what I mean? Now this is after that was after me and him have been on the yard together for a minute on D-Yard in Lancaster. And because I fucked with the homie G-Nut, the Samoan homie G-Nut, hella tough. So I used to fuck with the other car kind of tough, you know what I'm saying? Well, the Samoans, right? And so after, you know what I'm saying? So after we had interacted with each other through that, then, you know what I'm saying? So he told me, he was like, hey, he was like, man, he said, you know, the day that we transpacked, he was like, man, the Southsider told me that the white boys were gonna kill you that day. And I'm like, yeah, is that right? And I didn't tell him nothing, you know what I'm saying? I didn't say like, oh yeah, I know, like I seen their shit rolled up or whatever, this, that, and the other. But he was like, yeah, he was like, you know them two skinheads that lived upstairs in our building by C-section shower? And I'm like, yeah. He was like, yeah, it was going. He was like, it was supposed to be them and I guess two other dudes, and they were supposed to, you know what I mean? They were supposed to whack you. I was like, yeah, is that right? Oh, okay, yeah, that's what's up. You know what I mean? And well, whatever. Okay, bam. So I'm like, ooh. So when he kind of told me that, I was like, damn. You know what I mean? It kind of confirmed for me, right? But anyways, down the line, I end up running into the white boy that had the keys to that yard previously. Oh, excuse me. Previously, damn, every time I tell a war story, I get tired. Shit makes me physically tired. They had the keys previously, and then he got snatched up and sent to Ad Seg. And then when the new dude took over is when they plotted to do whatever they were gonna do, right? But I ran into him in Hot Desert, and he told me, he was like, yeah, man, he was like, I ain't supposed to tell you, but he was like, man, you know what I mean? They were coming, you know what I'm saying? And they weren't coming to like just, you know, tap you or cut you or slice you. They were coming to handle business, you know what I'm saying? And I just remember sitting there like, damn. You know, when you hear that, and then you know you've heard it from more, you've seen it with your own eyes, you suspected it, and then heard it from somebody else, and then 2 years down the line, you hear it from completely somebody else that wasn't connected to the first person that told you that. It all like, it sinks in. And I remember just that night, I just laid there like, damn. You know what I mean? Like, God must really want me to get up out of this thing, man. You know, and I'm grateful that he did. I'm not a fool, you know what I'm saying, by any means. And I believe that if I wasn't a transpac that day, that I probably wouldn't be here talking to y'all. Because we've all seen, there's 100 prison channels out there now. There's 100 videos of stabbings in prison, removals in prison on YouTube. You can Google it and be on there all day because there's so many, right? You know, each group has its distinction of, you know, what they're known for and this, that, and the other, you know what I'm saying? Where, you know, people have even made, some of the YouTube creators have made videos about who's known to stab more, what group is known to use knives more than the other, and this and that. And you know what I mean? That's all up for debate. You know what I'm saying? I mean, everybody's gonna want their own people to look good, you know what I'm saying, and stand out, you know. But the truth of the matter is this, right? And I'm gonna say this, and people can say what they want to say, and they can debate and argue and do all that. I will tell you this though. A lot of the people try to like downplay the Woods and all that, this and that. But I will tell you this. Ain't no other group outside of the whites have put down more murders and removals via stabbing instruments than the Woods. Straight up. And if anybody wants to debate me on that, then let's do it. Let's do it. You know what I'm saying? Real shit. And they do it because their big homies, the AB, I'll just say their name because their name's already out there. The AB has in their doctrine that when we commit a murder, we want it to be so atrocious that the other motherfucking prisoners are like, oh, hell no, them motherfuckers ain't playing, right? And that's what they do. So, I'm blessed to be here. I'm grateful for God to allow me to be here. I'm grateful for the life that I live, my kids, the chance to get away from all that and the blessings that I've had. I'm even grateful for the trials and tribulations that I go through, because that means that I'm still alive, right? I'm grateful for you guys for taking your time to listen to my spiel, right? So, with that said, people ask me all the time, what was the craziest thing that you've ever seen or heard in prison? And I'll just leave it at that. The day that I was supposed to be murdered in prison. Pretty crazy, right? Much love to everybody, man. If you like this, man, give it a thumbs up. If you don't, give it a thumbs down. If you ain't a subscriber to this channel, go ahead and subscribe. Much love to everybody. Blessings to all. If you can help somebody that needs help, help them. You know, not one person is going to change the world, but we can all do our part to ensure that our kids live a better life than we lived. And we can leave the places that we live in better than we found it. And if we all do that, then I think that we're on the right path. Until next time, y'all, one love, man. Peace.